This podcast is a part of the PodMania Podcasting Network. Check out podmania.co.uk to check out more of our great podcasts, features, reviews, match ratings and previews spanning the crazy and diverse world of professional wrestling.
Hello, my name is Simon Miller from What Culture Wrestling, and you are listening to the PodMania Pro Wrestling Podcast, and you better keep listening to it. Why? Here's why.
You're listening to the PodMania Pro Wrestling Podcast, a sample of the best pro wrestling podcasts we can produce on our tiny budget. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, CastBox, and all other podcast platforms. If it's wrestling you want, check out more of our great content at podmania.co.uk. Let's do this.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the PodMania Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Good, and I'm joined as ever by Garth Jackson and Chris O'Brien. Garth, how are you feeling, bud?
Good. I've got my beers, and I'm ready to talk wrestling.
What's your tipple of choice today?
It is the very finest beer d'or from Tesco.
It's a step above Tesco Lager in it, really. 4 of which I have in my cupboard at this very moment. Chris, he says, with a sense of creeping trepidation and dread, how are you, Betty?
I've only cried once today, so that's fine. I'm happy. I've got my Samuel Joe's straight Kentucky bourbon. Yeah, I'm fine.
That's it.
I mean, like, we have 2 podcasts to record today, Rob. And then 2 more on Sunday.
Don't break the third wall.
And then 2 more on Sunday, because, I can't watch the Invasion Attack match. I have a job. So, yeah, I need to be restrained for some things.
Was that a dig at me for having a job? Are you being serious?
I mean, like, I so very rare. Like, I'm not being funny. Before, I could be like, I understand responsibilities. I have shit to do. But now I have nothing to do, and I resent people who have things to do.
Just you wait now. You've got your degree and all that shit.
Oh, I never told you. I watched my film for the week because I've been doing this weekly film thing.
Oh yes.
It was Twilight.
Fuck off.
That only borderline classes as a fucking film.
Yeah, it wasn't great, especially since, like, the last 2 I watched are, like, now 2 of my favourite films of all time, and then there was this.
So what were the 2 before this?
Pulp Fiction and Clerks.
So you went from Clerks to Pulp Fiction to fucking Twilight?
Yes. And then, yeah, to be honest, I only did it because I was on Netflix last night. And, you know, like when you just want something on and you can't be bothered arguing whatever your thumb clicks on?
Yeah, porn.
So, like, I just put in a random letter, which turned out to be T. The first film.
I don't. I challenge how random that letter was.
No, I just, like, T. I just put T in my keyboard, man.
Oh, you really do worry me at times. And I know you stress Garth out.
To be fair, I sometimes just message the group and be like, I've fallen down a rabbit hole of Japanese shoot incidents, and neither of you are ever surprised.
One day, you are going to message and say, I've just watched the Godfather trilogy. What an epic trilogy. And that's when we'll get surprised. Not, I've fallen down the hole of watching Inoki shoot on insert name here.
To be fair, Rob, do you want to tell Garth about llamas with hats?
Honestly, Chris, I don't think I would do it justice describing whatever the fuck you watched before the Young Lion cast on Wednesday. So I'll let you elaborate to him.
Okay, so there's like 2 llamas. They both have hats. One's called Cow. I forget what the other one's called, but he keeps going Cow, and like Cal keeps doing awful things. Eventually, the other one dies. And then, like, Cal's so sad because his actions have led to the end of the world. And he's followed by, like, a mask of his dead friend. And then he can't take the pain anymore and he kills himself.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's pretty much my reaction. That's the PG version of my reaction, Garth.
I'm confused.
You should watch it. It's on YouTube. It's by a guy called Film Cal. He also does The Ghost House, where a guy becomes a ghost and he's very confused by his sexy ghost butt. And then he has children, and then he turns out he's not in a ghost house, he's in a ghost cracker barrel. But then he's not in a ghost cracker barrel, he's in a ghost house, and then there's a ghost war, and somehow the ghost dies, but then he just ends up in a different ghost house. It's a time.
It sounds fucked.
Yeah. I'm just going to move on. So, obviously today it's our weekly Week in Wrestling podcast where we go through all the news in the wrestling world. Just want to quickly go through some other things that you can expect on the PodMania Podcasting Network this week. So, obviously today, which will be Friday, as you are listening to it, the 29th of May, we've got our Week in Wrestling, the PodMania podcast. On Saturday will be a new episode of Wrestling with Johners. Tuesday, we'll see both the bonus episode that we are dropping, which will be a review of In Your House 16 Canadian Stampede. Obviously, it's In Your House season with NXT, so we are reviewing one of the better In Your House shows. John is also dropping an interview with Harry Mant. On Wednesday, myself and Chris will be dropping episode 4 of our deep dive into the Okada versus Tanahashi feud, so check that out on Wednesday.
I hope you have last one before we just completely invaded by Prince Devitt.
Yes, exactly. Friday, we'll obviously see another episode of our Week in Wrestling, and then on Saturday, John will release his NXT In Your House predictions. You can find ours both on the website, the Twitter feed, and of course, we'll be giving them officially on our Week in Wrestling podcast on the 8th. No, what date is it on there? What day is it on the Friday? I've completely forgotten. I've messed up my dates. The 5th of June. So check that out.
Did you mention the Sardencast?
No, because that's next week. Oh, no, I didn't. I completely forgot. On Sunday will also be the new episode of the Stardom Cast, where we'll be talking about the untimely passing of Hana Kimura, which we'll touch on in a moment. We'll be doing a proper full tribute on that episode. And then we'll be having a look at Arisa Hashiki's run with the white belt, her most recent run with the white belt, obviously, after she retired at the age of 24 due to injury. Lads, have I forgotten anything else before we move on to the actual news in wrestling?
Did you leave your dog in the car? No, that's someone else.
Garth?
Never mind.
Not that I can think of.
Right. Well, in that case, let's delve straight in.
I've hit 1,000 hours in Fire Trap.
Well done, man. I'm really proud of you. That is an achievement. Well done.
Well done.
The dripping tones of sarcasm from me and Garth then was just unreal. Anyway, we'll start this episode, and we start it unfortunately with sad news. On the 23rd of May, May 23rd, 2020, Hana Kimura, the Stardom wrestler, passed away at the age of 22. It's unclear at the moment whether it was due to suicide, though it is being heavily pushed that it was due to suicide. Hours before her death, she'd been posting stuff on her Twitter and her Instagram, which had alarmed quite a lot of people, including quite a few graphic images and basically a lot of tweets about what she was going through. She was then found at 4 a.m. by her mum when it was raised that she might be in trouble. Just before her death, she released on Twitter, and this is a translation, nearly 100 frank opinions every day. I couldn't deny they hurt me. Die, you are disgusting, you should disappear. I believe these things about myself more than they did. Thank you, Mother, for the gift of life. My whole life I wanted to be loved. Thank you to everyone who supported me. I love you all. I'm sorry for being weak. And then the last thing...
Basically a suicide note, wasn't it?
Yeah, effectively. And again, it's being heavily pushed that it's a suicide due to cyberbullying. 22 years old, this woman was. Had a whole life in front of her. She was one of the shining lights of Stardom. She was the most charismatic and easily engageable characters in Stardom, and her death came as such a huge, horrible shock to so many people. But not just that, it is a horrible spotlight on how people use social media. Social media can be used as a platform for good, a platform to reach as many people as you possibly can. However, and this highlights it, some people use it as this horrendous way of tearing people down. We all know how difficult it is to post any sort of opinion on social media without being torn down by people who seem to think it is absolutely fine to berate you for having something that is even remotely different to what they believe in. And it's not okay. And this needs to bring about some manner of change of how people actually use social media and make people understand that cyberbullying is never an innocent thing. There is always someone behind the pictures, always someone behind the status or the update. It's never just an innocent thing. And unfortunately, this has caused the death of a 22-year-old woman, not a wrestler.
Who was also starting to make sort of our waves on TV and stuff as well, wasn't she?
Well,
the cyberbullying stemmed from her appearance on Terrace House. Apparently someone in Terrace House ruined her wrestling gear. And then in the reality show, which, to be fair, let's be honest, was probably staged. It's a reality show. Slapped him, and then she got abuse online for it.
Yeah. A lot of the abuse apparently stems from her appearance on Terraced House. And if that's the case, then you've got to look at it and go, what is wrong with some people? It's
like that's the weird, like, the word trolling has somehow become like, it started off as like something like actually harmless, like, oh look, we played a harmless little prank that like even the person being pranked will laugh at, and now it's trolling is basically, oh yeah, I'm gonna kill you and rape your mum or whatever, and like that's what it is. That's people who self-identify as trolls don't want to say what that is, but like you didn't stop it from that being. So that's just what it is. That's just how it is. And like if you put yourself out there in any shape or form on the internet, in any like you get it. So like I don't know. Sometimes I put something stupid on Twitter or Facebook and get abused for it. And like I've no fucking clue how anyone who actually has a presence manages it.
Sometimes you just gotta, and it's harder. I suppose being younger, it's harder to do, but you just have to sort of let it slide and just think these people can't actually do anything, and they're the cowards.
In Hannah's case, like in her specific case, that's all she like again, she said it. That's all she wanted. She wanted to be loved, and like you can see people, and you can see people as soon as they read that going, well, you didn't have to put yourself out there, and then like that's just a shit way of thinking, because point is they put themselves out there to entertain us, and then like because she did that, it killed her, and it's disgusting. And like I don't want to dwell on like the circumstances too long, because quite frankly we've been doing that all week, because she's special. She was special. I don't know if Garth's seen her actually. She might have, because she was in Ring of Honor around the time you guys were reviewing it. She was she was infinitely watchable. She definitely wasn't like, I don't know over hype her, because I think that's something that happened, and I think that's unfair to the people. Like she wasn't the best worker, but like for how fucking young she was, like 22 years old, and she put on like just infinitely watchable matches at such a young age. Like she was, like when I started watching Stardom, like whereas like Arisa what made me like fall in love with it. She was who made me take notice, because she came out like colourful as all hell, carrying in a gas mask. I think at the time she even had the fucking giant samurai sword. I was like, oh, that's just objectively kill.
If it's entertaining, then it's they're doing the job.
Yeah. Just I don't know. Like me and Rob say it. I think we've said it on every Stardom cast. She's the best promo in Stardom. Like
Yeah.
her like charisma transcends the language barrier when she's speaking. Like, which is weird to say because like we talk about someone like Corona, his charisma transcends, but like when he speaks, we don't really care. Whereas when Hana speaks, we paid attention, despite the fact we don't speak Japanese. Like that's just telling to how good she was. And again, she was shit. I think she was like 6 months younger than me.
It's a testament to her character and her as a human being, the tribute that she's received from everyone that knew her, everyone that didn't know her. You've got people who've never met the poor woman and her are just pouring their heart out and saying she sounded like the most amazing person. She was, anyone that worked with Stardom said that she was a friend to everyone. She was the person, because she had the best English, she would be the person that was making the Gaijin talent feel wanted, people that she wasn't in a stable with. She was the one who was making people laugh. Videos have emerged that are just dancing stupidly to try and entertain people. Will Ospreay has come out with this lovely story about how she just wanted to be with people, and I don't want to dwell too much on it because obviously myself and Chris are going to do a longer tribute for her on the Stardom cast, but it sounds like go on, sorry.
It sounds like the classic case of somebody putting on a face but they're deeply depressed, like the Robin Williams sort of thing, where they act like quite outward and they're quite extrovert, but then like in reality they're quite sort of lonely.
It's scary. It's horrible.
Scary. And the thing is, what people need to remember is, and again, it's harder to say than to do, especially nowadays, but it's okay to step away from this shit. Just close your accounts and just step back for a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
In something like an entertainment medium, that's harder and harder to do because that's your job, especially when she can't wrestle. She needs to keep her profile up, and that's
that's what I mean. It's like sometimes it's harder to say than it is to do, but if it's fucking affecting somebody that deeply, you've got to take stock of what matters.
And I think as well, you've got to realise that in Japan, they have had a state of emergency, so their lockdown in many cases is actually worse than ours. So not only has she been subjected to, as she puts it, nearly 100 opinions every day about how she should die and disappear and all this absolute bollocks, but she then cannot get out and have the support of friends and things like that and have people come round and comfort her. She is alone with all these opinions, and with it's horrendous.
And with them being from that region and the way they're brought up, they're seen as weak if they ask for help, which is another fucking tragedy.
There's so much tragedy behind this, and if there's one thing we can take from this entire thing is that we need to be better, because what we are doing at the moment has cost a 22-year-old person their life, and it's people on social media that have caused that. So overall, we need to be better.
They're the people who laugh. The people who cause this are probably the same people who laugh when people talk about like the need for safe spaces, but they're the people who cause the need for safe spaces.
Yeah.
Let's
like, I'm not being.
Go on. Sorry, Chris.
It's just off. Like again, I just want to say this again because I don't want to end this segment on the circumstances, but she was special, even like without the body of massive standout matches that contemporaries would have. That's down to her age. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's just going to be weird having Stardom without her. Like, I can't imagine Stardom without her.
No, she was such a linchpin of the promotion and a linchpin of people's lives. So rest in peace, Hannah, and our thoughts and prayers and everything else go out to friends, family, anyone else that knew her.
We'll have a more composed tribute on Sunday with the Stardom cast.
Yeah, absolutely. So, next, on Saturday, AEW aired their Double or Nothing pay-per-view behind closed doors at Daly's Place. This was supposed to be at the MGM Grand in Nevada, and it's basically their big event. It's almost 1 year since, the big show, and it's really interesting to see where they've come from or how far they've come in many cases from that first Double or Nothing show to this Double or Nothing show. And the show itself was really, really enjoyable. Really enjoyable. And we'll go through it match by match by match. I'm not spending loads of time on certain matches, but there are matches we're going to talk more about than others. That's just the way it is. But quickly, before we delve into each match, Chris, overall opinion of the show?
Fine during the circumstances. My biggest problem isn't with the matches, it's with a lot of booking decisions, which, oh, believe me, I these two can attest, I have a rant saved up for one booking decision. I know Rob hates another one, I think even more than I hate the one I'm going to rant about. Their continued relationship with rapist Mike Tyson continues to be a thorn in my side. But I'm literally not. I don't want to normalize this, so I'm just literally just never gonna not refer to him as rapist Mike Tyson, because that's what he is. He's rapist Mike Tyson, convicted rapist Mike Tyson. The main event was cracking. The AEW title match was much better than it had any right to be, given the story. But which I think you can say a lot with a lot of the matches, but again, because we don't know the circumstances behind this. They don't have access to everyone per. Basically who they have access to depends on what the TV taping is. So building stories has been harder. So this is really good. Of course, there's not the overall sense of optimism we had coming out of last year's, because their mission statement has kind of come to fruition. They're competing and beating one of WWE's brands with how ratings are going, I think, for SmackDown. They're close to compete. They're not a million miles off of competing for SmackDown, not just because they're getting bigger, but because WWE ratings are getting smaller. I'm sure we're covering that at some point. But yeah, it was just a fun show. It was a fun enough show that I didn't actually see many NXT fans complaining that AEW exists, which is rare. So,
just to go back to your point, an interesting point you've made about how obviously AEW have been beating NXT more often than not in the ratings. It's actually Raw they are closer to in the ratings than SmackDown. SmackDown are pulling in relatively consistently near to 2 million, whereas Raw are pulling in. They've been pulling in their weakest numbers, so 1.6 million people.
That's TNA numbers.
What you've got to remember is, Chris, not only are we in the height of a pandemic where they haven't had people as a crowd, and it's become glaringly obvious just how important a linchpin a crowd is to a show.
But you need an example of that, the Seth Rollins Drew McIntyre match would have been easily a high 8 out of 10 with a crowd.
Well, Raw's also 3 hours every week.
That's the thing. I think the 3 hours is an absolute rating killers beforehand, as we've sort of seen. Unless they end up having an unbelievably interesting story, it just drops week on week and week.
Yeah, to watch 3 hours, to watch 2 hours is a bit of a chore, but to watch 3 hours week in week out with no crowd interaction, with no ambiance there to make it anything other than just what is a struggle. It's no wonder the ratings have been dropping. I'm not willing to use the numbers at the moment as any sort of indicator on the product, because I don't think you can in the current circumstances, but I just wanted to point out that Raw is actually currently lower than SmackDown. Garth, what was your overall opinion of Double or Nothing?
I really enjoyed it. I think it was definitely a sort of a show of sort of highs and lows. But overall, it was a really fun, good show, and I'm kind of glad that it wasn't where it was supposed to be, because they wouldn't have done what they did. And honestly, I know we're going to go into it more, but
I know what you're going to say.
Favorite match this year, that's Stampede. Just as a pure spectacle and entertainment, 10 out of 10. Just brilliant.
I can't disagree with you, mate.
I'm so glad that they got the opportunity to do that, because they wouldn't have under normal circumstances.
No, they wouldn't have done, not at all. And
can't have like a horse actually involved in a match.
Just
Exactly.
the pop when that horse arrived. We'll get there though, guys. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of these matches.
Oh wait, the buy-in. Oh fuck! Do we have to talk about the buy-in? The buy-in.
Nah, just skip it.
The buy-in was like a PWG opening tag team match, but worse. Let's just move on.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't even watch the buy-in because I completely forgot that it was there. Best Friends won. They are the number one contenders for the
6 out of
AEW.
10. It was fine. It would serve well as a TV match.
Yeah,
it was a fine enough thing. It's like any other private party match. It was high octane, but private party is still green.
Yeah, I agree. So we started with the Casino ladder match for a future AEW World Championship match. Just quickly, I'm just going to list the competitors, obviously missing out the mystery one for now. We had Luchasaurus, Frankie Kazarian, Kip Sabian with both Jimmy Havoc and Penelope Ford, Scorpio Sky, Joey Janela, Orange Cassidy, Colt Cabana, and Darby Allin. Joey Janela, of course, replacing Phoenix because of injury, though it is important to note that it is not thought that injury is anything important or serious, so that's good news.
Better safe than anything else.
Yeah,
quick,
exactly.
Quick story question. Why the fuck is Jimmy Havoc with Kip Sabian?
Because they're mates.
Is that it?
They live together.
Yeah, I think they're legit like best mates in real life.
It's like even I beef a fuckboy was best mates with someone who listened to my Black Parade one time.
Is that how you see Jimmy Havoc?
Well, in AEW, yes.
Oh, yeah.
In Progress, he's scary and will probably cut your ear off. But
look at me! I watch Progress.
No, just right. You know how disappointed you were when Bobby Roode turned up on main roster and it's like, oh, he's so good in TNA, he's so good in NXT. That's me with basically any Brit Res guy who ever goes to America.
So this match overall, before we get into the mystery opponent and the ending, Garth, opinion of this match?
It was good. What I liked about it the most is, and this sounds a bit stupid, but it wasn't like a spot fest. There were spots and there was Darby Allin, but it wasn't like 100 mile an hour where people were doing their shit all the time. It was actually a wrestling match with ladders. It wasn't like an NXT one where, as exciting as it is, nothing ever feels like it has any weight to it. Whereas this, like, people were getting hurt and they were legitimately down because they'd been hurt, and then they weren't jumping up and then sprinting up the ladder. There were a couple of occasions where I was watching and legit thought, shit, they're going to get the belt here. Like Frankie Kazarian on a couple of occasions was just steaming up the ladder, not doing the whole, I forgot how to climb a ladder thing. Like, it was really good. Like,
otherwise known as the Dolph Ziggler.
The Darby Allin thing is a mixed bag because he did that stupid fucking thing on the skateboard, and I was like, what? I know he's insane. I know that's his whole gimmick.
Hey man, it's totally radical.
But you could see it coming, and it looked horrible, and it was just, why would you do that? But as like the whole match itself was really good, and then the secret sort of competitor came in and given a whole different dynamic, and it really sort of did change the match. It was like really well thought out match. I enjoyed it.
Chris?
I didn't enjoy this. I thought the stipulation was stupid. I thought it was like the worst of like 2000s WCW and 2002 to 2015
WCW.
No, seriously, where we just take a normal fucking stipulation and add something onto it that just goes, like, for example, there was nothing stopping. Like, it's just stupid. It's a stupid stipulation, and it dragged the whole match down for me. Like, when everyone got in, that's when the match got good because it was a normal ladder match. And it's sort of like, if I didn't know that like no one in the Elite or like anyone who mattered liked Vince Russo. I think Vince Russo had his hands all fucking over this. It's like, look, bro, gonna have a ladder match, bro, but it's also a Royal Rumble, bro. It's never been done before, bro. It's gonna pull in all the ratings, bro. Also, rapist Mike Tyson. Just no. Like once the mystery opponent got in, I'm not being okay. It's Brian Cage because I don't know why we're waiting to reveal this because we know it's Brian Cage.
Yeah.
Once he came in and like it basically became a match of building him up. Building him up didn't really come to the expense of anyone, which is something AEW does have an issue with, where if they're trying to build someone up, they tend to bury someone else. Sean Spears.
Oh Christ.
So like once this match became a match, it was fine, but like the disjointed Royal Rumble shit beforehand, no. Not is this in it, Chief?
I'm literally in the middle of both of you. I thought
Black and Blackpool.
Hey, the match itself I thought was good. I enjoyed the match. The stipulation, you're always going to have people looking for a new stipulation, something new, and yeah, sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. I didn't have an issue with this, to be perfectly honest. I did have an issue with a few spots, just they took too long, or they took a little bit too long to get into position and things like that. There was bits that were a bit sloppy. I thought once Brian Cage came in and was the big reveal, I thought the entire match, the entire dynamic changed, and I thought it was really, really good then. They built him extremely well, made him look like an absolute beast, and then the entire of the rest of the competitors teaming up to bury him under stuff. I thought that was brilliant. I'm with you, Garth. The Darby Allin spot, I know that he's supposed to be this reckless bastard that will take himself out, just as a byproduct of trying to hurt someone else. But the spot made little sense because even if he'd have hit it, he still would have hurt himself more than the person he was landing on. So it's the whole putting a ladder on someone and dropping an elbow on the ladder. It's only going to cause you pain, never mind the person that you're doing it on. I thought some other people that looked good in this. I genuinely thought, and I've made no bones about saying that I've got very little time for his character in AEW. I thought Kip Sabian looked relatively good in this. I thought
dating Penelope Ford and she's like your crush.
I thought Luchasaurus looked good for the limited time they used him. I didn't realize I wanted to see a Brian Cage versus Luchasaurus match.
I was just gonna say that. Like I wrote down on my thing. I was like, yes, I want to see more.
I hate Luchasaurus kicks. I forgot to say that. I fucking hate his kicks. They never land properly.
You can blame that partly on him. That's also people taking the kicks as well.
I'm sorry, but like when it's 9 out of 10 times it doesn't hit, I think a majority of the blame lands on him.
I don't think it's 9 out of 10 times.
Okay, and in this match does the kicks look good?
Dude, we're talking about a ladder match with 9 people in it and a big reveal. I don't remember Luchasaurus's kicks. Of all the spots that took place in this match, Luchasaurus's kicks are ranking extremely low down on it.
I take note of wrestlers who kick a lot because I like a kick. It's my thing. And like you put Luchasaurus' kicks next to basically anyone's kicks, and it's like, your shit kicks, mate. Stop kicking people. You're a dinosaur. Eat them.
What do we think overall? And Garth, I'll start with you. What do we think overall? Of Brian Cage being teamed with Taz as a mouthpiece, and secondly, Brian Cage winning that future AEW World Championship match?
I think Cage and Taz kind of makes sense. They're kind of going for the Brock Lesnar thing. But Cage is all right talker. He's not great, but Taz is a better talker, so it kind of works. But the first thing I thought of when I saw Taz come out with him, and I thought, oh god, Samoa Joe with the fucking Nation of Violence.
Actually, what I thought, I got flashbacks to like Joe with the cock on his face.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
It's a sad time.
And then, but I thought when he came in, he looked good. It would have been so much better if there was a crowd, because I think he would have got a genuinely good pop. I love that bit where they just piled all that shit on top of him. And then, who was it? Was it Joey Janela?
Joey Janela hits...
It was like a stomp or something.
No, it was a Death Valley driver onto the chip that was on top of Brian Cage. But I can't remember who he did it on. Wasn't Orange Cassidy, was it?
I can't remember. Orange Cassidy was genuinely laugh out loud funny on this.
I love Orange Cassidy in big matches.
Do you know what I like the most as well? Well, not the most, but I love the build-up where they were like, what, you don't know the rules?
No, I love that when he came out and went up to the commentary table going, what do I need
What
to
do I
do?
It was when he was trying to put the first ladder up and it just fell over because he hadn't put it upright.
Because he just couldn't be bothered.
As a student, I relate so hard to Orange Cassidy.
So, Garth, second part of my question. What do you think of Brian Cage as the winner?
Mixed bag. I wrote down, is this... No, it's wrestling, so it doesn't matter, but is this fair? Because all those other people have been scrapping for a year, and then he just comes in and takes it. And what happens to the other people now? Like Darby Allin, people who have been set up as sort of potential sort of title people, and he is a legit talent and he's good, but I don't know. It was like I say, it's totally mixed. On one hand, it was good because it was a nice surprise, the perfect person to bring in, but they also have loads of other talent, and it is getting very bloated now. What happens with MJF? What happens with all those types of people? Yeah. But I like Brian Cage, so I'm happy to see more of him.
I've got a theory regarding MJF. Just before I throw to you, Chris, apparently Brian Cage has been signed since January, but obviously he's had this bicep injury. I think it was a bicep injury anyway. I can't remember if it's bicep or neck. It was neck injury. I apologise. So they basically said... Yeah, they've basically said, look, we're going to sign you, so don't worry about, money, but just get better when you can get better. So that's really good on Tony Khan and AEW's part.
You must also see on them if they're going to sign him while injured.
Well...
Because WWE would do that. WWE, when someone's injured, they just say, we'll sign you when you're not injured, because you're not that cunt.
Or they'll release you.
Yeah. During the pandemic.
Yeah. Chris, your opinion?
Brian Cage is great. I'd question anyone who didn't at least try to sign him, because he's probably the best. I want to say the best, but Michael Elgin exists, but also fuck Michael Elgin. You know what I mean?
We all know what you mean, mate, yeah.
Me and Rob have always had this eternal struggle of Michael Elgin's so good, but oh my god, fuck Michael Elgin. But Brian Cage is the best ethical big man out there. So I'd question anyone who didn't sign him. He'd make a great addition to any roster. I think AEW needs to stop pretending that their results are result based at this point. The rankings were good, but the rankings never seem to dictate who gets shots, which is fine. But stop pretending they do. I do kind of agree, someone like Darby, a lot of the people in this match, like Darby and Scorpio especially, has sort of been under that precipice, and then, never quite get there. This could be a good slingshot, especially Darby, who's had a mini feud with Moxley going on. But also, if they built Cage, I now do not trust AEW to build monsters. We'll get onto that. So, again, it's mixed. It's completely... Honestly, it completely depends how they book his title match at Fight Effect. So,
which we're going to get onto in a different news item. I really, really like the pairing of Cage with Taz. I don't care if there are parallels between Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar is a great pairing. Why not try and do something similar?
That the phone of the monster and the well-spoken advocate goes back to Heenan.
Yeah,
and Andre.
Exactly. So, and Taz is fantastic on the microphone. We've waxed lyrical about how good he is on the mic, how good he is on commentary, how good he is during his segments. So why not utilise him more?
also the fact that he can break down a wrestling match so well nowadays. Like, he didn't used to be able to do that, but like on his test segment, he's so good at breaking down like a wrestling match, like good at kayfabing the dumbest of things, like a Kenny Omega move, into being a legitimate move. So like at that point, yeah, if he's like decided to go into a managing career to manage someone, that automatically gives him some legitimacy within the kayfabe AEW have built up. Has become a bit of a meme, but like, just if you've been watching the AEW product, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, absolutely. As for him winning, I share the same opinion as both of you. I think, yes, you've got to make him look strong, but I think the way he came out like a house on fire, then to have basically for it to take 8 other people to put him down and bury him under stuff.
His mid card.
Yeah, even so, 8 people to bury him under stuff, like destroy him, put him under stuff. That's an all right way for him not to win that match. You've debuted him, he looked like an absolute monster, and it took 8 people to take him out.
Because then you could do a story of him getting revenge, because he has a Machine Terminator type gimmick going on. You do a story of him avenging that against everyone in the match.
Literally run through the mid card.
Yeah, and then like that builds up a perfect case for him getting a title. Lads, we should book a wrestling promotion. We're so good at this.
No, we're not. I gave this. I was torn because I gave it a 7, and then the more I've thought about it, the more I stewed on it. There were bits that were disjointed. However, I am going to go with my gut, and I am going to give it a 7. Garth, what did you give it?
Same, 7, yeah.
Chris,
I gave it. I'm still like. I'm completely outside of you two, so
we'll give it a 7 just because there was 2 of us. If you're giving it a 6, it might have averaged it out, but I'm sure you'll have your say later on. I'm not going to talk too much about the MJF and Jungle Boy match because it was a singles match with no stipulation. However, I thought this was absolutely fantastic. One of the matches of the card. I think we've had MJF, who's always been absolutely fantastic on the microphone. Yet he hasn't quite had that barnstormer match. We had that match with Cody, but for me, he's always not had that barnstormer match. Here, he showed off just how good a wrestler he actually was alongside Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy, we talk about how you build someone. Jungle Boy is absolutely fantastic and over like fuck as well.
Right.
So
and how young as well they both are.
Unbelievable.
Like, fucking unreal.
Unbelievable. MJF has got such a big future ahead of him. And as for just quickly parachuting onto what one of you said, I can't remember who it was, about how MJF is going to deal with this. What a fantastic way of him saying, I've been mistreated by management, for this newcomer to come in and get a title shot ahead of him who's got the best singles record of 2020.
Yeah.
It plays into his character. Not a lot else to say. I gave this an 8. I know there wasn't any stipulation to it. That shouldn't hinder a match, and for me, it didn't. I thought this was a really, really excellently wrestled match, so I gave it 8. Garth?
Yeah, 8. I really, really enjoyed it. Just the story in the match is really good, how we worked him sort of all the way through it. And they both came, because a lot of this was Jungle Boy being quite desperate at times because he wanted to win so much, and also MJF doing every dastardly or like sort of wrong and move that he could. It just worked perfectly.
Yeah,
really, really good.
Absolutely. Chris,
there's nothing I can say that will make me sound wanky now. This was like a really solid match, like an unbelievably solid showing. I expected this to be around a 6 out of 10, and it was a 7 for me.
Yeah, so it averages out at an 8.
Yeah, but like my issue again is the lack of story. Like, just there wasn't.
Yeah, it's like why?
It's not just why. It's also like within the match we didn't build a massive story within the match other than like plucky babyface versus heel. But that's like the minimum you should ask for within a match with these two characters. So like I still think we worked really well, especially given the limited story they had. But there was no heat. I was watching this going, this is objectively really good, but why do I care? Admittedly, I've only watched the highlights of Dynamite the last few weeks, so I'm sure you two who actually watch the product week to week to week, your
still there wasn't really any story really.
No, not really.
In terms of this, how well worked it is, I watch a lot of Japanese wrestling, so I've sort of been spoiled.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to compare it to a completely... I mean, there's no point comparing it. The two different styles.
It, but like, if you compare this to like a G1 match that has no chance of affecting the ratings. For example, if Ishii took on Yoshihashi, neither man's going to win the G1 as much as some people would want that, because Yoshihashi is amazing, obviously. But like at the end of the day, this is amazing. But who cares? But like their match would be better than this match. I know that's me being wanky, but still.
It is you being wanky, but we'll let it slide this once. So I'm gonna introduce all the stuff to do with this, and then we'll just wind Chris up and let him go like one of those toys. We go to the tournament final for the inaugural AEW TNT Championship. I was going to do an entire bit on the belt, but it turns out the belt wasn't finished. So now it has been finished. It's all over Twitter and actually looks relatively nice, so I'm not going to moan about it. We obviously had Cody with Arn Anderson defeating Lance Archer with Jake Roberts in 22 minutes with Mike Tyson visibly bored at ringside. Just did he even know where the fuck he was?
Does he know his time?
Oh god. Right, from now, Chris, okay, we're just going to assume that the rapist bit's implied.
Yeah, we don't need to bring it up anymore.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about Mike Tyson. When we talk about Dynamite later on, then I'll bring that segment back. But right now, there's too many mentions of Mike Tyson.
Garth, before Chris goes on his rant about Cody H, what did you think of the match and what did you give it?
I enjoyed the match. I thought, as always, what tends to happen is Cody's matches go too long, and
what a surprise!
And he kind of spoils because he is essentially the best salesman in that company because he gets you invested in every story that he does, and he makes whatever he's doing, again, obviously, the most important thing, and you actually believe that everything going in is important. They weaved quite a good story. I really enjoyed having like Jake Roberts there and Arn Anderson, but then the shenanigans was a bit shite. But I enjoyed the match. The ending and the interruptions and stuff just pissed us off again. It's more run-ins and more interruptions and shitty finishes. But the match was good. It just went too long. I'll give it like a 7, I think.
Yeah. Again, Chris, I'm keeping you on ice just because I know you've got a lot to say about this match, and I'm worried if you go before I do, I'm not going to get to say what I want to say. Overall, the match up to a point was really good. I think Lance Archer is very good in ring, and again, Cody's very good in ring. I think since Cody's match with Dustin, I think he's got it into his head that he needs to have every match be the epic match on the card, and to a certain extent, you know, he can pull that off. I mean, he's got the storylines to pull that off. With him not being able to go for the AEW championship, this makes sense for him to win this championship, for this to be his championship. I think with all the bollocks that went on, it took me completely out of the match. All the bollocks with Mike Tyson, all the bollocks with Jake Roberts, Arn Anderson for being kicked out after literally doing very, very little, and then Jake Roberts being kicked out for doing even less. He'd literally done nothing apart from laugh at Arn Anderson. Again, it's just, it was overbooked for overbooked's sake. Did Mike Tyson bring anything to it? No. Did either manager bring anything to it? No. And unfortunately, you were always going to struggle with this match because you'd spent so much time building the Lance Archer and Jake Roberts partnership, building Lance Archer to be this dominant beast, which you've sort of undone by signing Brian Cage, but, you know, that's by the by. And you had the storyline there for Archer to beat Cody. I think the storyline would have been better. You know, this can still be Cody's championship. The AEW TNT championship can be synonymous with Cody. That's absolutely fine. I think he would have been better chasing this tournament. Chasing this title. I think there would have been a better storyline going forward with him chasing this belt. Do I absolutely despise the booking in the same way we're going to find out Chris does? No. Do I think it hurts the prestige of the belt? No. Do I think it hurts who holds it? No. I just think there was a better way of booking it. The bollocks, again, really took me out of it. I didn't enjoy the bollocks, and to be honest, the length of the match, like you mentioned, God, just it took me completely out of this. And originally I gave it 5. I've reassessed and given it a 6, but it's a low 6, and it's probably the worst Cody match on pay-per-view since AEW.
I'm happy to drop mine down to a 6. Like.
Yeah. Right, Garth, have you got your beer?
Yes.
Are you comfy? I'm just going to pour a cup of tea from my industrial-sized flask, 1.8 litres, which I've spilt all over my desk. Wonderful. And Chris, go on then.
Okay. Just gonna take a quick drink of what am I drinking again? Samuel Joe's Straight Kentucky Bourbon is from Audi.
You're not drinking the Cody Kool-Aid?
Oh, Castle and hurt you, Gav. Okay, so this match was Hulk Hogan grade booking bullshit. You have taken this big monster, right? This big monster, and like I was skeptical about Lance Archer going over. I was like, oh, they're probably going to do nothing with him. And then they brought him over. They gave him Jake Roberts, because let's be honest, Rob, we've watched enough New Japan to know that Lance Archer isn't much of a promo, to say the least. He's like a Pokemon. He can say everybody and dies in various orders. Actually, just one order.
That's pretty much it, yeah. No, I'll give you
that. That is basically it. And then sometimes there's heavy panting in between. So you give him the best promo to ever live.
Heavy patting?
Heavy panting.
Oh, sorry. Do continue.
So you give him the best promo guy to ever live, but apart from maybe Paul Heyman, and it's like, okay, this could work. And then it's like, you know what we should do? We should get the guy who's only lost twice in the entirety of AEW and have him beat him, because you know what? No one's gonna care, because people like Cody and people don't like Hulk Hogan, and that's the main difference. So, like, if we book Cody like Hulk Hogan, that's going to be fine. If we build up this unstoppable monster, you know, beat big, not big names, but like make him unstoppable, make him look like he could be a force to reckon with within AEW. It's just dumb. It's so dumb. And like, I agree, Cody was probably a really good choice for the first champion, because you need to solidify the belt. And quite frankly, Lance Archer, if you don't watch New Japan, is basically known as the guy from TNA who has a tramp stamp. But fucking, you didn't have to put them in the tournament. You had guys at those tapings not doing all that much. You could have put one of them in the tournament and then have like a Cody. Because I'm not being funny, people keep telling you that Cody's giving, and like you just need to look at his record to know that he's not giving. People are like, oh, he put up a derby by having a draw. Yeah, but yeah, he's beaten him twice. And then like, oh, he gave Sean Spears a big feud. It's like, yeah, he's beaten him. What the fuck is Sean Spears? We'll get on to that. And then they're like, oh, he had a title match and he lost. Yeah, he lost to Chris fucking Jericho. He lost to an objectively bigger star. Cody has not lost anything from being beaten by Jericho, because like, quite frankly, everyone's been beaten by Jericho, because that's just what AEW is right now. And then it's like, oh, he beat MJF. Yeah, but like, he beat MJF after so many fucking circumstances that it's almost incomprehensible. And then you got into this match, and like, the beginning was fairly fine, but then it became slow and plodding. It just, and when Cody before was going, oh, people refer to me as like a 3-star master. 3 stars is fucking a lot for you, sir. Be happy with your 6 out of 10 and fuck up, you blonde cunt.
Wow.
I'm so like, because like, he's positioned himself as this figurehead, and that's fine, but stop booking monsters to then kill them, because like, that's Hulk Hogan grade bullshit. That's what we did for the Undertaker, and it killed so many people. That's what Jeff Jarrett did for himself. That's just, so many people have done it for themselves, and for some reason, because it's Cody, they're like, oh, it's fine. And quite frankly, I hate Cody more now, because he's shown he can put together really good work, and yet in New Japan, I really produce liquid dog shit. And just, fuck it, fuck off, fuck everything. What's the fucking point? And Mike Tyson's in there. What the fuck is Mike Tyson there? What the fuck does Mike Tyson add to this product? Nothing. That's what Mike Tyson adds to this product. He took his shirt off for some reason. He looked like a dropped lasagna, and that's coming from me. I didn't enjoy anything from this match for 7 minutes. In, what was it, a 20-something minute match?
22.
22. So that's about the length of most G1 matches. A lot of WrestleMania matches, actually, and they're all better. This stands as one of my least favourite matches of the year, and that includes a Noah match where the two guys just stood across the ring from each other for half a fucking hour. And people tell me that's a 5-star classic. Fuck off. Just no, fuck off. I'm sick of people defending Cody. This is Hulk Hogan grade bullshit. But that's what Cody is. It's like, oh, look at me, I'm the best thing in the world. But you're not. Fuck off. Fuck you.
Garth, you first or me?
And chill. Valid point. Mostly.
Mostly.
I agree with you on certain counts, Chris. I do. But there's got to be certain points where you do book your biggest stars as victors.
That's fine. But again, I
whether
said
he is Booker or not is irrelevant.
No, but I said earlier in the rant, he's definitely the best person to go for that TNT title. But what you do, you have Lance Archer beat everyone for months and then go for the fucking title, right? You basically wasted a monster push for no reason. I
agree, and it is slightly puzzling that they've dispelled this Lance Archer story straight away.
Straight away. This is WWE Hulk Hogan grade bullshit.
But, again, rationalise. Is this the storyline they always had? Probably not. It probably went longer. They've already said they pushed a lot of this forward because of the pandemic. I'm not saying that's the reason, Chris. Calm your tits.
You have so many people you could have put forward. You can't tell in a fucking 8-man tournament. You couldn't have taken Archer out, having beat a few of the indie guys they had in the crowd, and put one guy in there. Fuck off.
Who would you have put in there instead, then, Chris?
Have Trent go in there, go out in the first round to Darby or something.
So you're saying having a Cody versus Darby final?
Yeah.
And then you would have Cody beat Darby again.
I know being funny, but you could at least pull more of a story out of that, where Darby's it's like Masaru or Saruta or Tanahashi and Okada. He got that one, some would say fluke victory or draw in this case, and he's chasing that again because that will solidify him. And then Cody can't surpass him. There's more of a story there than just, oh, you've built up this unstoppable monster who you poached from a different company, and now, Cody wins. Because, where does Archer go from here? There's nowhere for Archer to go from here. Whereas with someone like Darby, or even if you had, Dustin in the final and have, this round circle thing, there's so many things you could have done. Because even if you had Dustin in here, you wouldn't have had to bury Sean Spears later in the night. Spoilers. This is literally the worst way they could have booked this. I'm not being funny.
I am not defending the booking. I think the match was not that good either. I've just said that. However, I don't agree with the assessment of Cody. I don't. But that's the whole point of having a podcast where we discuss things. We have different opinions. I think Cody needs to be at the top of the card because he's a star. I don't think Kenny Omega is where he needs to be, but that's by the by. You have a company, you put your biggest stars at the top. How that's been booked, yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't think Lance Archer should have been dispelled with, as I've already said, almost instantly. How much of that is Cody's fault? Well, that's by the by. Part of it is Cody's fault. He's not the sole booker. But
he's not the sole booker, but are you telling me that Cody was the only guy in the room going, yeah, guys, I totally shouldn't win?
Maybe not, but you can't place sole blame at Cody's door. If he was the sole booker, if we're talking Bill Watts WCW, fine. But he's not the sole booker.
But I'm not saying he's solely to blame for this. But because he has the book, it's more egregious than when, say, a Cena goes over a monster, where that's equally infuriating. but also I hate this more because Cody had some say in this.
But you are comparing Cody to Hulk Hogan, who quite flagrantly politicked his way to the top, and you think Cody is doing the same, do you?
Not in the same way as Hogan, but this is how Hogan booked himself to get over, where he'd build up a monster.
I will just point out as well, this is how angry you're getting. You did draw references between Cody and Darby Allin to Okada and Tanahashi. I know you're angry.
No, I'm not saying it would be as good, but I'm saying there would be direction. Lance Archer being beaten here doesn't give Lance Archer a direction because he's not. You can't have a heel chase about him the same way you can have someone like Darby chase the belt.
Okay, we'll leave it there because I'm worried that Chris is going to give himself a coronary.
I give this match a 3, by the way. I fucking hated it.
Really? You couldn't tell. You covered it so well. Let's move on then, guys, before I'm actually worried about Chris's blood pressure. We moved on to a women's match that I'm not going to rate. Well, I am going to rate it, but I'm not going to rate it really badly because, to be fair, it was supposed to be Chris Statlander versus Britt Baker.
Oh, Britt Baker. Oh, I got mixed up between the women's matches. Yeah, this match was liquid dog shit, quite frankly. Who the fuck cares?
It was supposed to be Britt Baker. She was injured, and again, I'll talk about that later, but it was replaced by Penelope Ford. Garth, what did you give it?
5.
Yeah.
Because it was just straight down the middle. It was all right.
I gave it 4. It was plodding. I still don't get Chris Statlander. I don't think she's that good. Admittedly, Penelope Ford's still quite green, so potentially not the best person to pour in the ring with, but this is like the 5th Chris Statlander match I've watched, and I haven't been convinced of her in any of them. So, Chris?
Yeah, this match was bullshit. I enjoy Chris Statlander just because you two hate her. And I like the alien gimmick. I might be alone in that. Penelope Ford is god-awful. She's the Mandy Rose of AEW. I think that's the best comparison we could probably draw.
She's not that bad.
She is not that bad at all.
Yeah, but like compared to like the rest of AEW's women's division.
She's not as strong as other people in that division, certainly. She's nowhere near the top of that division if you look at who else is in that division. But yeah, she's not Mandy Rose, for goodness sake. At least, she doesn't...
But like, I'm saying she's there like because she fulfills a need. There's no way to say this without sounding awful.
Don't say it. I know what you're going to say. Do not say it.
Don't be a JD from New York.
Yeah, exactly. And he is a bell end, so don't be him.
Oh, how the fuck is he popular? Like, we give much better critique than that fuck.
You just called Cody a blonde-haired cunt.
Yeah, but like, he has blonde hair and he's a cunt.
Not going to get into it.
I didn't reference how good Cody is in bed. I'm sure he's perfectly adequate. What was my point? Oh yeah.
Fuck knows.
Yeah, this match wasn't great, but it's not really worth dwelling on.
No. I gave it 4. Chris
as well.
You gave it 4 as well. So let's go 4 then. I'm not going to rant about this because what's the point? And I'm not wasting my time on it because we've got other things to discuss. Dustin Rhodes defeated Shawn Spears in 3 minutes in a squash match that had no right being on this card. Why Shawn Spears left WWE where he was a jobber to then leave and become a jobber on AEW where he gets his arse out and has Terry Blanchard on his penis, I've got no idea. So I gave this a 2, and I think that was being very, very, very generous. Garth?
I agree. Same.
Yep. Just
nothing to add. Just
yeah. Fair enough.
It was pointless. Is that the word?
Yeah, completely.
I think what annoys me about this segment is that I had high hopes going in because of the whole. I thought Dustin wouldn't turn up and it would be like Shawn Spears constantly calling out Dustin until like the next pay-per-view where they finally have the blow off because stop being a dick to Dustin. And I thought that would be quite cool. But then, no, it's just a Rhodes has to go over and we need to have Brandy on the show somehow. So
the thing that annoys us most is this didn't even need to be in the ring. They could have done this as a backstage 2-minute skit.
Yeah, and then that could have carried on into like a further feud, which may not have gotten Spears over, but it would be something because he's a talented promo. At the very least, he can get a story over.
Yeah, he is very charismatic, and he is being wasted. This had no right being on the pay-per-view. It didn't even have any right to be on the buy-in. This was a Dynamite segment, and well, would it have even made Dynamite? I gave it a 2. Completely pointless.
I didn't bother.
Go on.
It's a segment. I don't see any point in rating it.
No. We then move on to the AEW Women's World Championship match with Hikaru Shida taking the belt off Nyla Rose. Garth, opinion, and was it the right decision to put the belt on Shida?
It's another tough one. I enjoyed the match. It was good. I thought Shida she was on the back foot for a lot of it, and she bumped like a motherfucker. Also got her shit in, and it was quite a brutal match. It was like a fun match. I don't know at what point is the right point to take the belt off Nyla Rose, but I still like that she's had it that long, and it would have been nice to have it a bit longer. But I like Shida, and I think she's earned that. She's putting like constantly solid matches, and she's one of the few people that's actually properly worked her way up to that position, where she started on having like tag matches and stuff, and she's been properly built up, and not just sort of been inserted into this sort of feud. So, and Nyla Rose had sort of bulldozed her way through everybody else, which I think it's good. Yeah, it's good and bad, but I enjoyed it, and I think 7. It was a good match. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I gave it the exact same rating as you. I think it was a good match. It's Nyla Rose's best match, certainly. I think, for me, I don't think they quite did enough building of Shida to be the person to knock over Nyla. I think she should have been the person to take the belt, just not at this pay-per-view. I think a couple of, maybe it's All Out, which they advertised for September 5th. I think that could have been the moment. I just think, Nyla Rose has been built as this dominant beast in the women's division, and who, by the way, I really have invested in. That whole break bitches character, love that. Thought that was great. I think she deserved a little bit longer with the belt, because let's be honest, she hasn't been on TV. We haven't seen her with the belt for a long time. I feel like she deserved just a little bit longer. Put her in the ring with someone else on this pay-per-view, and then give Shida the belt later on. However, this match, I gave it a 7 as well. Thoroughly enjoyed it, a lot more than I thought I would, actually. So yeah, 7 out of 10. I'm a little bit iffy to see if it was the right decision, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Chris?
Shida was definitely the natural next champion from Rose. I do agree it could possibly be a bit early, because it was just earlier this year where Rose got it, wasn't it? So
yeah.
Like have Rose break an indie person on here. Well, actually, I don't know. Like, who do they have access to? Because I'm trying to think who they'd have. Well, maybe a Chris Statlander. Have like Chris Statlander and Swole in a like triple threat or something, because that's what we were kind of building up to, and then dropped it.
Yeah, and Swole was there at ringside.
Well, okay, yeah, then have that, and have Rose break them, and then have Shida get the next one, because she's been built up really well, and like if this was against anyone else, I'd be like, yeah, give Shida the belt, but because Rose has only had it for a few months, I'd be like, yeah, it's questionable, definitely. Shida is definitely going to be a great champion. She's definitely popular, like people love her, and like rightfully so. She's great, but again, Rose got shafted, and then it seems a bit unfair.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not complaining, because I did call. Who won the predictions, by the way?
We'll call that at the end.
Okay. Because this gave me a point in predictions, so I can't complain that much. I'm not saying I am a future teller, but all I'm saying is I do look a bit like a fat Jesus. Yeah, like the match itself was fine. It was perfectly adequate, which is more than you can really hope for with most women's matches in AEW, thanks to how they're booked. But yeah, I enjoyed it well enough.
Yeah.
There's nothing to really talk about there.
7? Are you all right with 7?
I mean, like, if you won by gate at 6.
Okay, fair enough. So we move on. We then move on to surprise of the night for me. Not in the result, but in the match quality. And that's nothing against the people in the ring, but we'll get into that. Jon Moxley defeating Mr. Brody Lee by technical submission to retain his AEW World Championship in 15 minutes and 30 seconds. Garth, opinion, my friend?
This match flew by. It was a classic Moxley match, but it was fun and it was full of daft little spots, and it was, as you would expect, a brawl. It wasn't a wrestling match per se, but it was definitely sort of Brody Lee actually got to get his shit in as well, rather than just coming in and kicking. I just enjoyed the match. I thought they both came out. I mean, Brody Lee came out looking like an absolute monster when he was put down in the ring by the DDT and kicked out after 1. That was a surprise. But then obviously Moxie had to take it to the next level and put him through the ramp, which I thought was a brilliant spot. And I've read some people saying that wasn't planned and it was a legit thing. I was like, no fucking way would they have built that in a way where somebody could potentially fall through it without rigging it. But even though fucking Brody Lee smashed his head open or bladed, it looked good. And once again, Moxie had to really sort of dig deep to get the win. And he makes that belt mean something. He makes it feel like it's important, and he'll do anything to keep it. And I'll be happy for them to have like the sort of road match straight away. I really enjoyed it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Completely agree with you. On all counts, including the rating. I thought this was far better than it had any right to be. I mean, it's had, 3 weeks build? 4 weeks build, max? And it's not been great build either. I was a little bit sceptical. I know there are quite a few people who are sceptical of the Brody Lee character, but I'm not necessarily sceptical of that. I'm just sceptical of, throwing him into a title match already. But the match itself, or the brawl itself, was really, really good. Every spot meant something. Brody Lee looked like he was an absolute monster. He was always going to lose. I think we all had Jon Moxley to retain here, but it was about how they made Brody Lee look in loss. And I think kicking out of the paradigm shift and then kicking out of the one after he went through the ramp, that really did sort of like, what the fuck? This guy's absolutely mental. What do I do? And then obviously defeating him by technical submission. How you now cap this off is how you book him coming out of this. Is he going to be completely demented and just absolutely tear through people as he goes back after the belt? Does he go after the TNT Championship? Does he not go after any belt? Because for me, I don't really see the character as needing a belt, but that's by the by. Overall, a really, really good match. Far better than I thought it was going to be. I was a little bit, like I say, tentative about this match, but 7 out of 10 for me. Chris?
Yeah, but it's my lads, we just agree. That never happens. I couldn't agree more. I feel, again, the Brody Lee character does not need a title. He can spin off and keep doing his shit, and then you can build him back up. It's not a Lance Archer situation where he got destroyed for no reason, because it wasn't like Brody Lee was built up half as well as in terms of a scary figure. He's the leader of a weird sex cult, so that's not the set. And yeah, it was just an enjoyable championship match that wouldn't have felt out of place on any of the pay-per-view, quite frankly. I think with the crowd, it would have, much like the June Seth match, although this wasn't as good, would have felt better with the crowd. But
especially the spots.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a decent enough first defense for Moxley. He needs to get those in the bank just so he can have a legitimate reign. But yeah, this was just a fun title match. Turn off your brain, have fun. It's a Moxley match.
Yeah. So we then moved on to The Stadium Stampede match, the Elite, Adam Page, Hangman Page, Matt Hardy, Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, defeating the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz in 34 minutes. Now, I am just going to say something before I let Garth talk, because I know he's going to rave about this match. He absolutely loved it, and I know Chris has got things to say. The first thing I want to say is, before we get any manner of criticism, I'm a huge advocate of the two matches at WrestleMania, the Firefly Funhouse match and the Boneyard match. Thought they were phenomenal, especially the Firefly Funhouse match, which, I still hold as one of my favourite matches of the year for several reasons. I didn't like the Money in the Bank ladder match. I'm in the minority. I know there were a lot of people that liked it online. That's absolutely fine. Like what you like. The problem for me with that match was that the comedy didn't quite hit. It was very forced. It was very down your throat. And I didn't enjoy it. I felt like I was being not patronized, but it felt very, very forced. Exactly. Yeah, forced. And I didn't enjoy that about it. Everything that I loved about the Firefly Funhouse match and the Boneyard match, I didn't find in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I applaud the concept, I applaud the idea, but I didn't like it in execution. The Stadium Stampede match, was everything I could have wanted. Comedy-wise, spot-wise, every single person in this match, from Sammy Guevara to Jake Hager to Santana and Ortiz, were given the chance to shine. And actually, the person with the least to do on this in this match of this 34 minutes was probably Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Who you wouldn't really expect. One of the largest segments was between Matt Hardy, Kenny Omega, and Santana and Ortiz, who got over as really, really, subtly funny. Like Ortiz, he's quite crazy, so you get that with him. You don't really get that with Santana, so to have him in this sort of area, this sort of, this match where he's got to be funny. And it worked. It really did work. It was subtle, and that's what I find the difference between this and the Money in the Bank ladder match. Anyway, Garth.
It's like you say about the Firefly Funhouse. It was fun, and it was there. You can see this was you could imagine the meetings before this where they were just like, right, what can we do? And then they just went, yeah, let's do it all. And it was just like, right, okay, well, Hangman Page is a cowboy, right? You can just ride a fucking horse across the field. It's like, right, do it. And it was just seeing that, and I was just like, I was sitting watching it with and Annette was saying, I was like, I just went, yes. I just said, yes. She went, what? Yes, what? I was like, this dude, she was like, is he riding a horse? I was like, yes. She was like, I thought this was wrestling. I was like, this is wrestling.
This is wrestling.
It's just, honestly, all of the bits were just so well done. And one of the bits that made us laugh the most was the pool of reincarnation, where they just kept dunking Matt Hardy and he kept coming back as a different version. And it was just, and the look on Santana and Ortiz's faces every time was just priceless. And then I don't know if you noticed it, and this is super fucking nerd shit, right? But I think it was Santana and Kenny Omega and one or the other Irish whipped the other one through the curtain to get to backstage. And
I saw that, yes.
That's something you used to have to do on the N64 and NWO, I think it was Revenge, or one of the N64 games. To get backstage, you had to Irish whip them. And I was like, oh my God, this is fucking incredible. I noticed that in the second time I watched it.
I'm kind of sad we didn't do like the SmackDown Here Comes the Pain animation, but we just looked back for no reason and just...
Oh, yeah. But the bar brawl as well, I was pissing myself at that. It's like just where they sit down and he pours them the drink. He says, oh yeah, come here to drink or fight. And they just let the shit out of each other, and then he ends up doing the thing where like the John Wayne thing, where he drags him through the bar, and then that buckshot lariat off Omega's back, and Omega like down in the pint of milk. Just the whole thing, like everything was just good and fun. And if you can watch that and not enjoy it and be entertained, you need to immediately stop watching wrestling, because that's like, you want to be entertained, and they had wrestling in it. It had a bit of wrestling in a ring for a little bit. I even like properly marked out when Jericho hit his fucking move on the Jaguar, just for no reason. Just and Sammy Guevara's facials on this was fucking amazing. Like when he's like hit by the sprinklers, and he was it like 100-yard.
The rolling German suplex.
Yeah.
Sorry, the rolling Northern Lights. It was amazing.
And then them chasing him with the cart again, and the Kenny Omega's face where he looked absolutely like maniacal. Just the whole thing. Like, I don't want to go through all of it, but honestly, just that's a match I could easily put on at any time I watch it. I think honestly that's the type of match I put on for anyone, and they would probably get enjoyment out of some of it. And the finish was good as well. Brilliant. 10 out of 10. Honestly, 10 out of 10.
Go on, Chris.
Well, in terms of like just critiquing what happens, what else can I really say? Just if you haven't watched it, go watch it. Like we brought up the Money in the Bank match a few times because like clearly, like the two are kind of the same. It's like you need to have your main event be like this out there because of the lack of crowd. Because we sort of saw from Mania Night 2 where if it isn't that, it just falls flat. What I will say, this if the Money in the Bank match was say a sitcom, it would be The Big Bang Theory. It was like, yeah, well, while it may have its moments, by and large, if you enjoy it, you're probably an idiot. Whereas here, it's more like a Community or a Scrubs or a. I'm running a sitcom, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where like while you can just exactly, where you can just sort of jump in blind and enjoy yourself. But like,
there's a character for everyone.
No, exactly. If you jump in blind to any episode or just into this match, you'll enjoy yourself. But like if you've been watching like AEW or like New Japan beforehand, you'll enjoy this more because you know the little things, like for example, Omega drinking milk and Hangman drinking alcohol. That's just it's and then like Hangman coming in on a big horse. I can't swim. What do you mean? What do you mean you can't swim?
I forgot that.
It's just exactly. And again, like the Money in the Bank match is your Big Bang Theory, it's your Seinfeld. They're mostly for like common denominator idiots, both here. So like anyone can enjoy it, but also if you're paying attention, you can have more fun.
I mean, the bit with Matt Hardy taping Ortiz into the wheelchair and just doing his whole doctor shtick, and then Ortiz coming after Santana, just literally dragging himself with the 1 foot, going, "I'm going to come and get you, Matt, eventually." Yeah. It was amazing. Really.
Is that a horror movie?
Like I said,
on a horror movie.
Every single person in this match had time to shine. Even Jake Hager, who isn't known for his comedy, so to speak. He was brilliant. That entire barroom bit was brilliant. I genuinely was absolutely wetting myself as they kept cutting back to Adam Page going round and round the stadium on his horse looking for Sammy Guevara. I genuinely marked out at that bit, just really, really laughing my head off. And then when Usyk comes face to face with the horse, Jake Hager was like, they're not going to have a fight. He's not going to fight the horse.
This is the best Corona era match, right?
It's up there with the Firefly Funhouse. I put this above the Boneyard match. I put it.
The problem is, like, I can, like, in retrospect, while I love the Firefly Funhouse with all my heart, I can't call that a match. Like, in the most technical terms, there was a 3 count.
Yeah, it was more of a segment. I will grant you that, but even so, I still put this on par with that. I gave it a 10 as well, Garth, because what the fuck else can you give it? It was.
I'm just inclined to agree, despite the fact I didn't rate this because I didn't know they legally should.
Legally,
I'm going to be sued if I give this a 10 out of 10. Melps is going to be like, this isn't a match. You're encroaching on my copyright.
I bet you any money he rates this.
Yeah.
Who?
A Meltzer. Because he hasn't rated he didn't rate WrestleMania, and he rated the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, he just didn't rate the Money in the Bank ladder matches.
Doesn't the Observer come out on a Thursday?
I've already checked, it's not out yet.
Okay. Oh yeah, you have a description, don't you?
I do. Anyway, let's move on from Double or Nothing, because we've spent a little bit longer than I thought we would. Let's move on. A bit of Dynamite news coming off the back of AEW Double or Nothing. The first is that Britt Baker, the knee injury that she received, the go-home of Double or Nothing, is not as bad as everyone first feared. It was feared that she could be out for 6 to 9 months. She won't be. They reckon it's going to be more like 2 months, 6 to 8 weeks, which is good news for everyone. She did come on to Dynamite in a wheelchair, and then turned around on the back of the wheelchair. It said role model, role spelt ROLL. So absolutely fantastic. Popped big for that. It's also been confirmed that Matt Jackson has legitimately got a broken rib, which makes the moonsault off of the goalposts even more impressive. I couldn't breathe with a broken rib, never mind perform a moonsault off of a football goalpost. And they had a match on Dynamite as well. Just the man clearly is a machine. And actually, Garth, that's a brilliant segue. Well done, my friend. Because we did have an AEW debut. Possibly the worst kept secret. Everyone knew this was going to happen. It was just a case of when. But the Revolt, or FTR, or Fuck the Rest, or whatever you want to call them, the old revival from WWE debuted last night on Dynamite, or on Wednesday night. This comes out on a Friday. But they didn't just debut, they debuted and saved the Young Bucks from the Butcher and the Blade. So, how long, boys, before FTR end up with that tag team match against Omega and Hangman Page? Are we looking at All Out for that, do you think, Garth?
I think All Out.
You think All Out, Chris, yeah?
Yeah, I think that they'll have a story beat, like a proper lead up to that one.
Yeah. At the moment, obviously, we talked about on the pre-show, the best friends of the current number one contenders. I see that taking place as the main event of a Dynamite. And then...
There's Fire Fest between now and All Out, isn't there?
Well, that was the next thing I wanted to talk about, actually, Chris. So well done on helping me in my segue, buddy.
But I actually have a quick question about FTR.
Go on.
How much do you think it's going to fuck us up that Scott Dawson is now called Dax?
Honestly, mate.
Whereas Dash Wilder isn't called Dax.
He's called... Yeah, Dash is called... Oh, God. Dash Wilder's now called Cash Wheeler. And the other one's Dax Harwood, I think.
Jesus.
How much is it going to...
That sounds bad.
When talking... It's not even that Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder are good names. It's just stuck in our heads.
You're just used to saying it, yeah, absolutely.
It was the same way with Lee. We just stopped calling him Harper after the first 2 weeks because we got used to it. So I'm sure it's going to be like anything else.
So
I think it's because we knew his name before.
Yeah, it's like when your favorite indie or TNA guy goes to NXT and he's suddenly called Cameron Grimes.
Oh, God. The most generic name. Trevor Lee isn't exactly not generic, is it? But so something else that comes out of today is that Tony Khan, when he was talking about Brian Cage having signed back in January, he also announced that Fyter Fest, which will take place between Double or Nothing and All Out, which again was advertised for September the 5th, Fyter Fest was actually supposed to take place in the U-fucking-K.
We would have had a wrestling road trip.
Oh, irrelevant of if that was London, we would have absolutely been going to that. Right, Garth?
Sad, isn't it?
Me and Garth.
I'm trying not to think about it. That could have been our SummerSlam 92.
It would have been Like, just think about it, Gaff. We'd have been in the car for 8 hours. We probably would have picked Rob up from Stoke. It would have been amazing.
Just the idea of that gets me so aroused. The chances are we are going to have an AEW event in the UK. They seem very dead set on that. It just won't be Fyter Fest. Do we see... I mean, the main event of that has already been confirmed. There's going to be Brian Cage versus Jon Moxley. I don't see Cage taking the belt off Moxley at all.
I'm more apprehensive about this than I was about the Lee match, because I think Cage has got a bigger build in one match.
The difficulty for me is... Well, not the difficulty. I don't think Cage should come in and win the championship straight away. I feel there is a chance for someone to ruin that match for him. Maybe an MJF. For him to ruin the match for Cage, you know, full of anger for the fact that he's come in and basically waltzed his way to the top. I don't think he walks out of Fyter Fest the champion. I think Moxley retains. I think and I think it will probably be with some manner of DQ finish or some manner of ballsy finish. But I do think it will be an absolutely fucking great match. Garth, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think because Brian Cage can do the sort of hardcore stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think with Moxley, I mean, we know he can wrestle because he has had some decent matches in the past, but so far he's just been like the Stone Cold sort of Blood and Thunder. So it'd be good to see how they go up against each other.
Yeah,
absolutely. I can see Moxley bumping like a motherfucker in that match.
Moxley will make him look fucking brilliant. I have no doubt about that.
You say that, but every match Moxley has with a Giant, it seems like the Giant, unless it's Jeff Cobb, is bumping circles around Moxley, like with Archer at the Dome earlier this year.
True.
Yeah, we'll see. I have high hopes for that match. I have higher hopes for that match than the Brody Lee match, and the Brody Lee match was, as I've already discussed, a pleasant surprise.
We have more faith in Cage as a wrestler.
Well, in that position, maybe, yeah, because we all know Brody Lee can work. Last thing to come out of Dynamite, there was a confrontation between Mike Tyson and Chris Jericho. At least they are referencing the fact that they knew each other in WWE. It would make no sense for them to do this and for them not to be now. There's clearly going to be some manner of angle because there was a pull-apart brawl at the end. This... I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like...
In the whole time AEW's been on TV, I've never felt like they were desperate. There was one time where I felt where we were desperate for ratings, and that was Blood and Guts, because it was War Games out of nowhere for no reason. Whereas here, like, I've never felt like we were more desperate for ratings, and we really don't need them.
No, I do agree with you, Chris. It did seem a strange thing to have Mike Tyson at the pay-per-view at all. And then there was always going to be an angle because it was reported that he was going to be at Dynamite the next night, and it made sense to be with Chris Jericho. What that's going to be, I've got no idea. Whether we have some manner of match at Fyter Fest or whether it'll be some manner of angle, I don't know. I don't need to see this. This is the sort of thing that WWE do at WrestleMania. This is your Floyd Mayweather versus Big Show.
This is what AEW is not meant to be.
Exactly. This is everything that I didn't want AEW to be. We have WWE for that. If you want that sort of thing, that's what the WWE is there for. In my humble opinion, I don't want AEW for that. We're yet to see what that can be. Jericho makes pretty much everything work, so I am quietly confident whatever it is won't be a train wreck. So fingers crossed. Moving on from AEW, because we've spoken about AEW a lot on this episode so far. Couple of items of news regarding recent WWE releases. So, back in, I believe, was it April or the start of May? WWE had that horrible amount of releases. Deonna Purrazzo was one of them. She has emerged in Impact Wrestling. I think, personally, that is an absolutely cracking fit for her. I think she could be at the top of that division alongside Tessa Blanchard. Obviously, I know Tessa Blanchard is the Impact champion, but at the top of that women's division, I think she is that good in ring. She's a good promo. And I think she's an injection of new blood that the Impact Knockouts division needs. I can't wait to see a match between her and Jordynne Grace. I think it'll be great. Garth, as our resident Impact mark, what do you think of this in general?
I have not watched Impact that much recently. I don't really know the state of the women's division at the minute because the last one I watched.
The same as when you stopped.
But it's always good to get somebody new in, and like because Jordynne Grace is the champion, she's pretty much run through everyone they can. So sort of see where she is. It's debatable whether sort of Tessa's going to continue on the World Heavyweight Championship trail. I don't know. It's good. I mean, I think it's a surprise. I think it's a surprise that she's gone to Impact, and so quickly as well. So that's good. It's a good sign.
Chris, what's your opinion on the Deonna Purrazzo thing?
I don't quite know where else she could go. Could like, are you going to go to Ring of Honor with Women of Honor? No. Like AEW has strong people but bad booking, so why would you go there? And of course, why would you go back to the third? Like Impact, other than NXT right now, probably has the best women's division. Like it's an actual division as opposed to something like AEW where it seems to be just there to tick a box because they don't seem to know how to book it. In NXT, like she was definitely wasted in WWE.
Oh, completely.
Like she is an unbelievable talent, and to be honest, even without how badly booked the AEW division is, I still think Impact would be best because after she pulled out of All Out to sign with WWE, which I'm not being funny, a one-off date compared to like a long-term contract, I'd take the long-term contract. Cody sent a side strike to her, and that was completely uncalled for. So I'm like, yeah, maybe not go there. They might still have bad blood. Go to Impact, and yeah, in terms of what she could do, that's probably the best American promotion she could go to right now. So I'm just looking forward to see what she can do when she's allowed to do something in a good division. Because the only other division we've really seen her in a major promotion, because I don't really watch the US Indies, is Ring of Honor. And like, I'm not being funny, I could tell an actual joke that's less of a joke than the Women of Honor division. So,
moving on from Deonna Purrazzo, then Drew Gulak, who we reported last week, was at the end of his WWE contract and they'd let it expire. It turns out that it's widely reported that he's re-signed with the WWE, and he's appearing on tonight's SmackDown. So
my favorite thing from this was a Simpsons meme, where it was like, Drew Gulak was reported by some news sites to have been released, but we later took him to a better news site where it was later reported live.
So, overall, it sounds like Drew Gulak has got the money that he requested in the first place. Good on him, because he's fucking great.
That's all I want is to be treated well. And it sounds like he's negotiated to be treated well, so good on him.
Yeah, exactly. Good news. Good news all round. And I think he is a good fit on SmackDown. If his matches with Daniel Bryan are anything to go by, he's got a very, very long, illustrious career with the WWE.
Last week when he was released, we were struggling to place him. So, like...
We talked about a lot of places, didn't we? We did talk about a lot of places, you're right.
None of them seemed to quite fit. Like, all of them could have been good, but, like, none of them seemed like a guaranteed slam dunk. And, like, with Purrazzo, where she goes to Impact, it's like, yeah, that's probably a slam dunk. Whereas here it's sort of like, you could go anywhere, and it would probably go wrong. So, Sean Spears. So.
Yeah, Sean Spears just doesn't make sense. Then moving on then. So next week, we'll give our official NXT Takeover in your house predictions. Couldn't think of the word then for some reason. We'll give you our predictions next week. Obviously, that'll be after the go-home episode of NXT. At the moment, the card stands at 4 matches. So currently, guys, I don't know if you know this, these are the 4 matches that have at the moment been released and been made official. So we have Tommaso Ciampa versus Karrion Kross. The NXT Women's Championship triple threat between Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, and Io Shirai. the singles match between Finn Balor and Damian Priest. And then we have a last chance match for the NXT Championship between Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream. If Velveteen Dream loses, he can no longer challenge for the NXT Championship while Cole is still champion. Garth, does this get your juices flowing? What are you excited for?
I'm excited to see Cross's debut, and it's against Ciampa, so it's bound to be sort of decent.
Yep.
The thought of Dream potentially getting the title is quite good. It'd be interesting to see what his entrance is.
On the In Your House set. Oh, it's going to be amazing.
It's got to be something like 90s. Like, what if he comes out as like Mabel? With the like...
He has one of those sumo suits on.
With those like horrible like gold pants.
Oh Jesus!
And the big purple shell suit top.
Oh, amazing!
I think the women's matches, we've seen it a billion times, mostly haven't we? But it'll be good. And yeah, what was the other match?
Balor versus Priest.
Be good, but I don't know really what's happened with that one. So again,
it's the match.
It's Finn Balor, so it'll be decent.
Chris, what about you? What about your young Scottish fluids? Are they bubbling at the thought of this pay-per-view?
First of all, you forgot Keith Lee and Johnny Gargano.
Yes, yeah. I have. That hasn't been updated on Wikipedia. God damn you, Wikipedia. So the US Championship between Keith Lee and Johnny Gargano.
I'll start with that. I cannot get excited about Johnny Gargano matches anymore. They've not delivered in like a year.
Unfortunately, the last set, it seems to be, if you've seen one Gargano match, you've seen them all.
Yeah, and in hindsight, that's just always been the case. He just had residual goodwill. Honestly,
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
Had anything good since his Cole series? I didn't enjoy his Balor match. I thought it was bloated. Can you tell me anything that happened in the middle 10 minutes?
No, but you can say that about any fucking match, Chris. You can say that about any NXT Takeover. Can you tell me anything that happened in the middle 10 minutes?
Yeah, okay, but that's the problem. And I bring this up every time we
So hang on, you can tell me every minute of the Stadium Stampede match.
If it's a 10-minute match, stretch of this match when nothing of note happens.
But we're talking about 6 months ago.
Yeah, I know, but we couldn't have the time either.
Fair enough.
I can get excited, but Keith Lee is the best thing in the world.
He is fantastic.
He manages to get over my disinterest in NXT, so this could be good. Priest's Balor match, I don't know the story. I know that Priest attacked Balor or something. I'm sure it'll be fine, but who the fuck's the babyface in this situation? I don't know. The triple threat, I'm so over Charlotte, but it's not even funny. I've not cared about anything Charlotte's done since her Becky Lynch feud, so it'll probably be fine, but I won't care. Who's the third person? It's me and the other person in that, isn't it?
It's Charlotte, Ripley, and Shirai.
Oh, Ripley. Why did I think? Oh, I saw her on a poster earlier. That's why. Yeah, that'll be good. That's a good set of people. Shirai will probably bump circles around them and then take the pin because WWE doesn't know how to book foreign talent. What's the other match again?
Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream.
Oh, Ciampa and Cross. That's who I forgot. Might be good. Cross's entrance is fucking epic.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's quality. I love it.
Ciampa's a good person because I'm not being funny. Cross is being probably put in probably getting put over here. So Ciampa's a good person to do that against because he's not going to lose much, and then that can be a feud going forward with Ciampa. Yeah, that'll be fun. That's probably my pick for match of the night so far, just because I think those two gimmicks sort of go well together. I think mind games could be played. Velveteen and Adam Cole. I'm rooting for Velveteen. I personally think it's time for a change. It's been over a year at this point, and love Velveteen Dream, and I'm sure all of us do. I like Garth. I'm excited to see what he comes out as. My personal pick is 2012 Adam Cole, so I'll just be boring as fuck. No, I'm looking forward to it. They're the two most charismatic people in NXT, other than maybe Keith Lee going at it. So that'll be fun at the very least. There's no tag titles on the line. It's because it's on Imperium right now, isn't it?
Well, Imperium have just taken them off Thatcher and Riddle, haven't they? So there hasn't been time to build anything yet.
I guess maybe that'll be fun in the pre-show. Which is a shame because, like, I'm not being funny. The tag title matches are normally my most look forward to matches on a takeover card, so that's actually a bit of a shame. But oh well. I'm sure I agree with you. It'll be a solid couple hours of wrestling. It'll be relatively inoffensive, and then I'll give one match less than 8 out of 10, and the whole internet wrestling community will hate me for what's new.
I'll be honest, I think this card has the potential to be excellent. I mean, we say this about every NXT takeover. It's been reported that Matt Riddle is being sent to SmackDown, and apparently he's not going to be the only one from NXT to be brought to either Raw or SmackDown. I personally can see Ciampa going. I think Ciampa will leave and go to either SmackDown or Raw, so I think Karrion Kross beating him here is pretty much going to be a farewell, in my opinion. I agree with you, Chris. Charlotte appears on all three WWE brands at the moment, and I'm done.
Unbelievable.
Her promos are all the same. She is a fantastic wrestler. I will battle anyone who says she isn't. She is a fantastic wrestler.
She's a great wrestler. I'm sick of her.
Yeah, that doesn't stop me being sick of her. I don't want to see her anymore, but she is an absolutely phenomenal wrestler. And against someone like Io Shirai, I'm slightly upset it's not a singles match between Charlotte and Io. I think that could have been absolutely fucking epic, but Rhea Ripley is a great hand and has proved that she's more than capable.
They want to be a star.
So and she's very, very good.
For the WWE mode, yeah, she's perfect.
I'd love to see Shirai take the title here. I really, really would. I'm worried that she is going to be the fall person, but I don't want to see Charlotte with the NXT Women's Championship. I'm done with Charlotte now. Not as a wrestler, just I'm done seeing her on my screen.
On Instagram, because I follow both Andrade and her on Instagram, and they're both so fucking annoying. Anyway, continue.
Balor versus Priest, it's a match. It will be great. Priest sort of impressed me last time I saw him, which was around Survivor Series. He impressed me in that match. It went a little bit long, but other than that, he impressed me. So, yeah, it's going to be good, I'm sure.
When is this again?
This is the 7th of June, so next week we'll be giving our... 6th of June? 7th of June?
You're going to be so sick of Finn Balor.
Yeah, I know. 7th of June it is, so it's the Sunday. Bloody hell. I've got to get up on the Monday. Won't be able to watch it live. As for Keith Lee Gargano, I disagree with you. I think Gargano has had good matches. I think it's just...
good matches. But
the problem is they've over-convoluted his storyline. They flip-flop between whether he's face or whether he's heel, or whether they wanted to feud with Ciampa or whether they wanted to be friends with Ciampa. DIY? No DIY. It makes absolutely no sense.
Half an hour long. It's the Okada problem.
It's not even that. The lack of continuity in his character and the lack of continuity in his goddamn storyline makes me... I don't want to be invested in his character. The whole point of that Ciampa and Gargano trilogy was that it capped off that feud perfectly.
And then kept it going. It's like the Shield.
Exactly. Not only did they keep it going, but they then made Gargano heel, then face, then heel again, with little to no explanation. And then he reignited the feud with Ciampa, and I'm done with it.
Look at everyone else on this card. For example, what is, like, if you say what's Keith Lee's character? Well, he's a babyface who's really good, and he knows how good he is. That's his character. What's Johnny Gargano's character?
Well, what week is it?
Exactly.
That's the problem I have. It's not his in-ring work, and I will defend Gargano to the hilt. I think he's a fantastic wrestler, and he produces consistently outstanding matches.
Also, he loses in the same way. Oh, I'm gonna be this cool babyface. Oh no, I did a stupid, and now I've lost.
again, that's not his fault. It's the booking. The championship, it could be fantastic. It really could. It's got the potential to be absolutely amazing. I would have said Adam Cole is going to retain because I don't know whether they'll take a punt on Velveteen Dream or not. That stipulation, if Dream loses, he can no longer challenge for the NXT Championship. It adds a wrinkle to that match.
The fact that it's only until Adam Cole loses it does make it less predictable.
Exactly, that's what I mean. If it was just if Dream loses, he can no longer challenge for the NXT Championship, then I'd be more like, they're kind of building it for Velveteen Dream. Just that little bit while Cole is still champion. Cole could lose it the next NXT and Velveteen can still challenge for it. Of course, does that mean that Velveteen Dream is going to Raw or SmackDown? We don't know. Overall, I think it could be it will be an absolutely fantastic night of wrestling. NXT TakeOver, for me, very, very rarely doesn't deliver. So I'm excited about this. Again, next week, we will give our official predictions for this card, because I imagine there will be some manner of tag title match. I know they did 6 matches on the last TakeOver, so maybe they'll do 6 this time.
Did they do 6 matches in UK TakeOver? No, they did that for Wales, not for Blackpool.
Yeah. So, lastly but not leastly on this slightly extended version of the Week in Wrestling, we've got episode 3 of The Undertaker's Last Ride series, End of an Era. I just wanted to highlight this a little bit, Garth, because I know me and you have watched it. I know, Chris, you'll want to have your say at some point. For me, of the 3 episodes, this one had the smallest amount to take away from it.
Yeah, I've got that. That's pretty much what I've got in my notes. Although it was good, it was still, I think we've been spoiled by the first 2, and that they revealed so much. I think we're kind of getting used to seeing them now, but still, honestly, man, that match with DX with Brothers of Destruction was, I haven't watched it. I haven't watched any of those shows because of the dog shit, but
they're absolutely dreadful.
Fuck me, that is lit. That, from what I've seen, that could be the potential to be the worst match of all time, or one of. Especially where it involves 4 of the best of all time.
Yeah. Like what expectations should be. Yeah. From what I've heard with this, it's sort of like the first 2 were like the final bits of Return of the King, and then this is like the last third where everyone's just sort of falling into place.
It was just, I mean, the bit where Kane's fucking wig falls off.
Oh my God. But not just that, you've then got Shawn Michaels whiffing that moonsault dangerously so as well. It was terrifying how much he missed that by.
Yeah, he's still safer to work with than Nia Jax.
Yep.
We haven't mentioned it. Injured another person.
Yeah, I know. There's no point in saying anything about it. The WWE must know at this point,
not
Chris.
Going to be, and it's at the point where people are like, well, WWE haven't fired it. Well, yeah, WWE or someone's dealt drugs. So, let's not start pretending WWE's a moral high ground here.
Not only was this episode, it was obviously the shortest one of the trilogy so far, and you just got that impression, Garth, that basically he's going to keep wrestling until he has that match.
Yeah, he's never. And the sad truth is, and unless it is like the sort of Boneyard match, he's not going to have a 30-40 minute main event again. He doesn't have that style anymore. He doesn't have that need. We don't need that. And I don't know. It's sad because obviously they're talking about the next. At the end of it, they talk about the next one. That's where he goes up against Goldberg, and it's just.
Oh Jesus! Yeah, that match.
I want if he is going to keep coming back, I want him to do more like he did with the Boneyard thing, where it's filmed and he can be made to look as good as he needs to look, rather than live.
I have a question for both of you. So, at the end of this, do you think we're going to get some manner of announcement that The Undertaker, we're going to have a concrete date that The Undertaker will retire? Do you think this is why they've started to put out this documentary? Do you think that they'll say something like WrestleMania 37, The Undertaker's last ride? Something like that.
I don't. I think they're just going to wait until Calloway is happy to walk away, which is going to be never. And it's a shame. But also, Vince isn't going to say no to him.
I don't even think it's that, Chris. I think it's the other way around as well. Undertaker cannot say no to Vince.
Hasn't he been fucked by like 4 divorces? This isn't like a Ric Flair situation where despite being so big, he has no money because of divorces.
No, he's had 1, hasn't he? He's had 2 divorces. I'm sure. Hang on, I'm going to check. I'm sure Michelle McCool is his 3rd marriage. But he's just been given a 15-year contract, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think that's why he took it.
Yeah, he's had 3 marriages. And stuff. I mean, I imagine he won't be short of money.
Not if you look at his house.
No, absolutely not. Bloody lovely that. Bloody lovely that. Lovely, lovely.
Oh, isn't it just lovely though?
Lovely, lovely.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Yeah, just it's sad though. Like, because quite frankly, I can't think of when he could have stepped away and have been happy with it. Unless
Michaels.
Yeah.
No, that's
Triple H at 28. Triple H.
Oh, like he's had several perfect opportunities to retire. I think Lesnar would have been a good point, even though the match wasn't great. It was a good tale. Even if he had come back and had like a barn burner the year after and been defeated, he can just go, yeah, right, but that's me gone. I don't know, like he's too old to have that barn burner now. And
that's what I'm worried about.
Because, like, I'm not being funny. We've seen him, like Roman Reigns. He's not like we harp on him several times for several reasons, but like it's not because he can't work. Like, you can't tell me that the 2 characters of Roman Reigns and Undertaker couldn't have had a compelling match. Cena at Mania 33. Am I right in saying?
34.
Yeah. That could have been a great swan song because Cena can definitely work a great match without working a great match, if you know what I mean. Like, that's a Hogan thing, but better. Yeah, just he had so many opportunities and they're gone. And it's sad because he's going to hurt himself more. And even though I've watching this documentary, that's the narrative I sort of had in my head, and it's tragic, quite frankly.
It does make you wonder, because The Undertaker, I think, at this point is searching for something that he's, as you've said, he's not going to get. He's, how old is he now? He's 50. He is 50. Sorry, I'm on his Wikipedia page now, and why am I scrolling? There we go. He's 55, and his hips are basically made of glass. So, I personally think, well, I've always said that he shouldn't have had the streak ended. Never should have had the streak ended. But with the branding of WrestleMania 28 as being the end of an era, surely that should have been the moment. Triple H stopping having, a relatively full-time schedule. Michael's gone, Taker gone. Surely that should have been the moment. Because you look at the matches he's had since. He had the match with CM Punk at 29, which was a good match, but did he need to have it?
That's probably the match about Mania.
Yeah, but did he need to have that match? No.
Definitely not.
The Lesnar match, the ending of the streak, polarizing, think of that what you will. The Wyatt match, it made sense, but the match just didn't live up to anywhere near the build.
If Wyatt over, that'd have been great.
Wyatt should have gone over. The Shane match didn't need to happen. There was absolutely no point, and the storyline made no sense. And then the Reigns match, that would have worked if, Taker was in better physical condition. Obviously, if it's difficult, Reigns is a great worker. I don't think much blame is at Reigns for that. But I'm just worried that he is going to drive himself to a point of not being able to get that thing, and it's going to really, really cripple the man. And I don't want to see that. His legacy deserves more than that, more than these failed attempts at trying to capture something he won't be able to get. He deserves more than that. And, come on, guys. a casket match against Rusev. Was that ever going to be his last match?
Oh yeah, that happened.
I mean, I'm all, obviously he's done that because...
the Jericho match?
Originally, yeah, but then Jericho left, didn't he?
No, because Jericho was still on that show. He was in the Rumble.
Was he?
Yeah.
Was that... No, that was his last show, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, of course it was. That was his last show.
Because he turned up on a Raw beforehand. It was like an anniversary Raw, and he was in his Alpha Club Jericho shirt.
Oh, God.
It's wrestling is weird, isn't it?
It really is. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's leave it there because it's already been a longer week in wrestling than we're all used to, touching nearly 2 hours.
It's a busier week than normal.
It has. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, guys. We really do appreciate it. Just to remind you that on Tuesday, we will be dropping our In Your House 16 Canadian Stampede review, so please check that out. And our next week in wrestling will obviously be our NXT predictions, and that will be dropping next Friday, same time, 6 p.m. GMT. In the meantime, please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You can subscribe to it on all platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review and a rating. It really does help the podcast out. Talk to us on Twitter at PodMania. Join the Facebook group, PodMania Podcasts. Go and check out the website where you can look at all our archived podcasts, all our match ratings. You can also check out some of our features, including a In Your House 1 review from the very, very first In Your House. You can talk to me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Chris, where can they find you?
I'm not going to plug my own Twitter because I don't use it, but at StardomCast. It's a nice big community we have going on. I dig it.
Lovely. And Garth?
Gothmania.
And we will speak to you guys same time, same place next week.
You've been listening to the PodMania Pro Wrestling Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at PodMania, Facebook at PodMania Podcasts, and YouTube and Instagram at Real PodMania. And check out the website podmania.co.uk. Until next time, wrestling fans.